Hello everyone. Today we will see how to manage a state on React class components. This is a website inside the DigitalOcean. There are the particular steps we need to follow. I will give this link in the description section. We will follow step-by-step process to manage a state on the React class. Introduction. In React, the state refers to a structure that keeps track of how data changes over time in our application. And managing state is crucial skill in React because it allows us to make interactive components and dynamic web application. And state is used for everything from tracking from inputs to capturing a dynamic data from an API. In this tutorial, we will run through an example of managing state on class-based components. We will use a static state and also the dynamic state to update. These are the prerequisites where we should know how to install Node.js and how to create React app. And the first step is creating an empty React project. These are the steps we need to follow to create an empty React project. Firstly, copy this command and paste it in the that is npx create React app state class tutorial. Here copy this command and then paste it in the terminal section. Go to files and then terminal. Inside the terminal, select new terminal. Here we have to paste this code to create the state class tutorial, which I have already created. After the project is finished, change the directory and to copy this code and paste it in the terminal to go to the state class tutorial, and then press npm start. Then we will get the default app which is present in here. We will get this output once we execute the code which is present defaultly. And we have to change this inside. We have to go to the app.js. This is the default app.js which is normally present to get the output like this. We have to change this. We will create an empty. We will remove all the functionalities in the return. Then we will create an empty page. Then we have to remove the logo.svg also. Then we will get the output inside the web browser like this. Now that we have cleared out the sample create React app project, we will create a simple file structure which will help us to keep our components isolated and independent. We have to make a directory inside the source called as components. Here this is the directory. By copying this code and copying this whole code and pasting it in the terminal. Once the directory is created, we have to move to that directory and create another directory called as app. Inside the components there is a inside directory called as app. This is the app directory, and we have to move all the app files into the components app file. That is, there are app.jss, app.css, js and app.test.js. We have to move all these into this app directory. And we have to move to that code. We have to execute instead of nano. We have to use a code source index.x because our system is a Windows system, so we have to use code instead of nano. And inside the index.js file, go to index.js, and inside the index.js file we have to import a components.app file. Here we have already imported, and according to our system Node.js configuration, we have to change this code. As for my Node version, I have this component which I have generated from ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT also. Save and exit the file. In the step 2, we will be using the state in a component. In this step, we will set an initial state of component on its class and reference as the state to display a value. Then make that product page with a shopping cart that displays the total items in the cart using state value. And by the end of the step, we will know the different ways to hold a value when we should use the state rather than the properties or a static value. Firstly, we will create a static value. We will make another directory inside the source component, so we will get another directory named product. Here this is the product inside source, and then inside the components this is a folder called as a directory called as product. We have to move to that product component and make another file called as product.js. here we have already present here. We have to copy this code and then paste it in here. This is a static code here. This is the final output which I will be displaying here, but we have to follow these steps properly firstly. Yeah, this is the product.js file. We have to copy this and paste it in the VS code which I have already shown in here. Once we copy it and paste it in here, this is the div tag where the shopping cart is. This 0 is the value, and then there are how many items are there, and then total number of items present in here. We have to save this and close the file, and then we have to open product.css. Yeah, this is the product.css file where we have to copy this file, and then we have to add a css styling to this product.js file where for product span like this. For this we have to change, we have to style the element. Once we style the product.js file by adding css for styling, now the emoji will need much larger font size than the text, since it's acting as the product image in this example. In addition, we are removing the default gradient background on the buttons by setting the background to none. Save and close the file. Now render the product component in the app component so that we can see the result in the browser. The results will be based on the app.js file, so we have to render the product to the app file. It is app.js. We have to import the product from the product name that we have imported here, and we have also returned its element by calling it in here. We have to save and close the file. When you do, the browser will refresh and you will see the product component, and this is the output where there will be add and remove, and then the ice cream pick, and then add and remove, where the buttons will have no functionalities as of right now, but we will add this in the further steps. Setting the initial state on the class component, there are two values in our component value that are going to change in our display. Total number of items and the total cost. Instead of hard coding them, we will move them into an object called as a state. A state of React class is a special property that controls and rendering of the page. When we change the state, React knows that the component is out of the data, and it will automatically re-render the component. So it modifies the re-render output to include the most up-to-date information in the state. In this example, the component will re-render whenever you add a product to the cart and remove it from the cart. We can add other properties to a React class, but they won't have a same ability to trigger re-rendering. We have to execute this code by changing nano to code for Windows system, which I have already told, and then we will go to the product.js file. It is inside the product. There is a product.js file. This is a file. Here we have to create one object called as a state, where we have to create an array called as a cart for adding a cart, and then the total by initially setting its value as 0, and then we have to call this as we are using JSX file, so we have to call this in the curly brackets, and this state.cart.length, it removes the how many number of elements are there, and then the total is the total amount of that cart. This is the output, like shopping cart, there are 0 items, 0 total items. We will change these 0 value and then the total values by adding the functionality to add and remove button. The state property is a standard cross property, which means that it is accessible in other methods, not in just a render method. Next, instead of displaying the price as a static value, we will convert it into the string value. Instead of using the numbers, we will convert it into a string values, and then we will call the get total method to get the total. Currency options, minimum fraction digits are 2, and the minimum fraction digits are also 2, minimum and maximum fractions. Get total, here we will return the total by converting it to the string currency options, and then we will call this dot get total. Since the total is the price for good, you are passing currency options, that it is set the maximum of minimal decimal place, maximum for minimal decimal places. This is set to separate properties. Often beginner React developers will put information like this state. Yeah, another important change we have to create is get a total method by assigning arrow functions to a class property. Without using arrow functions, this method would create a new this binding. This binding and introduce a bug into our code. We will see more on this in the next step. We have to save this file and we have to execute this. Then there will be a fold type of data, that is a double type of data, that is 0.00 instead of only 0. Now we have added the state to a component and referenced in our class, and we have also accessed the values in the render method and in other class methods. And in the next process we will create a methods to update the state and show dynamic values. Setting the state from a static value, that is from a static value the price will be the static. Once we add a remove once we click on the add button, then the static value will be added, static price will be added. So for now we have created a base state for the component, and now we have referenced to the state in our functions and our JSX code. In this step we will update our product page to modify the state on the button clicks. Like when we press on the add button, here it will add the total number of items like 1, and then the value will be plus 5 if the ice cream value is price is 5. And once we click on the remove button, it will remove the number of items and then the price from it. And if we add another item, then for 2 items the total price will be for 10 rupees, for 5 rupees for price for ice cream. Now we will update our product page to modify a state on a button clicks. Now we will learn how to pass a new object containing updated values to a special method called as setState. Is a special method which is used to change the static value or a dynamically value, which will then set the state with an updated data. To update the state, React developers use special method called as the setState that is inherited from the base component class. The setState method can take either an object or a function as a first argument. If we have a static value, then it does not need a references of the state. But if we have a dynamic value, then we need to have a reference of the state. Firstly, we will pass a function to avoid any reference to out of date state. Start by adding an event to the button. If a user clicks on add button, then the program will have to add item to the cart and then update total. If they click on remove, it will reset the cart to an empty array and then the total will be 0. For example purpose, the program will not allow users to add item more than the once. Yeah, we have created a add object where we have to set this dot state item as static values. That for a cart we have added the name as ice cream, and then the price of that ice cream as a 5 value initially. And we have a button on click. We have used the JavaScript here, on click functionality for this dot add to add the price. Inside the add method we call a setState method and pass an object containing an updated cart with a single item ice cream and the updated price of 5 rupees. We notice that we will again use a arrow function to create add methods. As mentioned before, this will ensure the function has the property this context while running the update. If we add the function as a method without using the arrow function, the setState would not exist without binding the function to the current context. For example, if we created the add function this way, like this state and then ice cream comma total, then there will be an error. So we have to be careful. Save the file, and once we click on this add item, then the total item will be +1 and then the price will be added. And the same like this we have to write a function for remove function also. This we have already created. Remove this dot state as a empty state, and then we will make the cart as a empty, and then we will add this functionality on click this dot remove. Save the file. When the browser refreshes, click on add and remove buttons. We will see the cart updated but not the price. The total state value is preserved during the update. This value is only preserved for example purpose. With this example we will update both the properties of the state objects. but we will often have a components with a stateful properties that have a different responsibility. The change in this step was static. We knew exactly what values would be ahead of time, and they didn't need to be recalculated from the state. But if the product page had a many products, we have only one product called as ice cream, but if you have many products like donut and then watermelon with different types of prices, then we cannot use a static method. We have to use a state set with the dynamic value, that is this dot state dot value, which will use dynamically, which will dynamically assign the value and the price to that, which will take current state as an argument. Using this method, we will update the component state using the current state. To demonstrate this project state of management, we have to add some more items to the product page. Firstly, we will open the product.js by executing this code by changing nano to code in the terminal. This is the product.js where we have to copy all this code and then execute it in here, paste it in here, and we have to map this products map and key value as product.name. Then we will get the output like these, and then we have to dynamically add a functions called as add methods and add methods using setState, add a product, and then this dot set as state greater than, and inside the cart we will see state dot cart and then its product name, and the total will be calculated by state dot total, the current value, and then the product price, that is the price which has to be updated. Then we will get the updated value, which we will call in the on click button. Once we click on it, the output will be shown. Inside the anonymous functions that you can pass at state, make sure your references the argument state, not the component state, that is this dot state. Otherwise we will run to a risk of getting an out of date state. The state in our object function will be otherwise identical. Take care of not directly mutate state. Instead of when adding a new value to the cart, we can add a new product to the state by using spread syntax. Yeah, this is the spread syntax, where about the spread syntax with an array. If we have two arrays like tools and other tools, if you want to combine these two tools, we can use a concat method to concatenate two arrays, that is constant all tools equals to tools dot concat other tools. We can concatenate tools and other tools by following this. Now we can also spread it to unpack arrays into a new array, constant all tools equals to tools comma other tools, and we can display it by using constant dot log all tools. Then after running, the output will be both, like adding hammer, screwdriver, wrenches, firstly the tools and then the constant tools. This can be particularly helpful with the immutability. For example, if we are working with an app that has users stored in an array of objects like this, there are only two users like Ben and Leslie, and we have to add another user named Ron. Yeah, like this, by entering users.push new user, we can add another user called as Ron to the users array, but this changes the user array which we might want to preserve. Spread allows us to create a new array from an existing one and add a new item to this, add a new item at the end of the array. If there are users Ben Lacey will be printed first and the new user will be added at the end. Console.log users and then console.log update users, then the output will be for the users, this will be the output. For the updated user, first these two will be added and the new user will be added at the end. Creating a copies of data instead of changing an existing data can prevent an unexpected changes. In JavaScript, when we create an object or an array and assign it to another variable, we are not actually creating a new object, we are passing a reference, that is a shallow copy. Constant original array equals to 1 2 3 and constant second array equals to original array. Once we pop, like removing the last, once we use a pop method, it will remove a last item from the second array, that is console.log. When we print console.log original array, then the output, when we will get output 1 2 only by removing the third item. Spread allows us to make a shallow copy of an array object. Shallow copy is an shallow copy of an array of an object. It means the top level properties will be cloned, but the nested object will still be passed by the reference. For example, if we create an array 1 2 3 and we make a copy of the original array, this will be the shallow copy, because if we change the elements present in the copied array, like if we delete the second array, then the array will also original array will be affected. This is called a shallow copy, which is not suitable for using this. So we have to use the deep copy for this, where if we change the elements present in the copied array, it should not change the original, it should not affect the original array. But here we are using the shallow copy. Spread can also be used to convert set or any iterable to an array. We can create a new set and add some entries to it. Constants or set new set. We can add octopus, starfish, whale like this. And constant set creator equals creatures equals to state. We can print these C creatures. This can also be done using the creating an array from a string. These are the spread objects. Yeah, this is all about the spread syntax. Finally, update this call to this.add by changing the onClick property to an anonymous function. Then it calls this.add for a relevant method. Once we click on this add, then the total count will be added. Like for the price, for different price, it will be added dynamically. And update and like same update the remove method. For following the same step, convert the setState to take a function, update the values without mutating update the onChange properties, like this.state constant cart, and then we use a splice method. Cart.index of product name, we will add it to the cart, and the total value will be state.total minus the product price, and then we will call this inside the curly bracket. To avoid mutant using the state object, we must first make a copy of it using the spread operator. Here we have already copied it, and once we save this, when you do, the browser will refresh and we will be able to add and remove items. But there is still a bug in the application, like when we add when the total element is 0, when the total output is 0, once we click on the remove button, it will get a -5 value. Like if we click on the remove on the ice cream without adding it to your cart, your total will be -5 value, which is a bug in the remove functionality. We can fix this bug by checking on item's existence before subtracting it. If there is an item, we can subtract, or else we can execute. But there is another easier way to keep our state object small by only keeping the references of the product and not separating the references to the product and the total cost. Try to avoid double references to the same data instead of storing the raw data in the state. In this case, the whole product object then perform calculations objects on the state. Refactor complement add methods adds whole object, and the remove methods removes the whole object, and get total methods uses the cart. Like we have to create another object called a state where the cart is object, and the add method. Here add method is not changed, but inside the total element is added. But inside the remove element, we have removed the total cart value, and we have added if functionalities. If the product price is greater than 0, then we will come out of the execution. That is return statement is used to come out of the execution, which will be used to if the index does not exist, you will get -1. In that case, we will use conditional statements to return nothing. By returning nothing, React will know that the state didn't change and won't trigger re-render. If you return the state or an empty object, it will still trigger the re-render. When we are using the splice method, we are now passing 1 as the second argument, which will remove one value and keep the rest. Finally, we calculate the total using the reduce array method. Save the file and refresh it. We will have the final cart method. The set state functionalities can have additional argument to the constant properties, which can be helpful in our state. Like this, we can add a dynamically change the state. Now we will simply demonstrate it. press on this, this. Yeah, this is the code. We will run this code and show you how the output will be. And I have also added some external features also. Inside the terminal, press npm start. Yeah, this is the output. For an ice cream, I have added another property code as what is the price for different type of items. Like for ice cream, it is a $5 per item, and for donut $2.5, and for watermelon $4. And here there is a shopping cart total items, and then the total number of items, total number of bill. That is, once we click on add item, then the cart will be one total item and the total will be $5. Once we click on donut add method, then it will add $2.5, that is using the current state, that is dynamic state method, and the total value will be 2.5 and the items will be 2. And for clicking on the watermelon, we will add +4 for the total cart value, and the 3 items will be added one. And we can also remove the ice cream if you want, then it will subtract 5 value, and for donut it will subtract 2.5, and for watermelon it will subtract 4 value. And I have also created another button called as clear chart to clear all the total price value and the total items. Once we click on it, the total price and the total cart items will be 0. This is the simple demonstration of my code. Yeah, let's conclude this session. In this session, we have developed a class based component with a dynamic state that we have updated statically using the current state. And now we have tools to make a complex project that responds to users dynamically information. React does not have a way to manage the state with hooks, but it is helpful to understand how we can use the state of the components if we need to work on these components that must be a class based, such as those that of a computation-did method. Managing the state key is nearly all components and necessary for creating interactive application. With this knowledge, we can recreate many common web components such as sliders, accordions, forms, and more. This is useful for creating with an MUI component buttons, which we have already used. The state method is very useful while dealing with MUI buttons. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.